Greetings again from the theaters of London, folks. This is David Herzog with yet another Musical Talk mini episode. Today we have an exciting quick interview I had with the composer and writer Elliot Davis. Now, Elliot Davis is famous here in the West End for numerous reasons, not least of which is his recent success and Olivier-nominated musical Loserville that played here in town recently at the Garrick Theatre. Elliot has a wonderful one-night-only show coming up in London called Collaborations. This will be an evening of songs by Mr. Davis, as well as the people he has had the opportunity to work with over the years, whether as a composer, lyricist, or book writer. But I'm sure you don't want to hear me tell you all the interesting details and stories. Let's hear them from the man himself. Okay, we are here today talking to the wonderful Mr. Elliot Davis about his upcoming Collaborations project, which will be on Sunday, the 22nd at the St. James Theatre here in London. So, Elliot, it's nice to meet you finally.
It's very nice to meet you, too.
And let's start by just bringing people up to speed a little bit on the project itself. Actually, first, let's chat a bit about your history as a songwriter. How did you get started with songwriting?
Well, the first thing I did was I was at university, I studied politics, and I was definitely going to be a lawyer. I was absolutely going to be a lawyer. And then at the time, Oliver was just being relaunched at the Palladium, and I saw a program about the Oliver composer and book writer and lyricist Lionel Bart. And I thought, he looks like a dude. I'd much rather do that than be a lawyer. Right to that guy. So I actually found out who his accountant was, and I wrote to Lionel Bart's accountant and said, could you pass this letter on to Mr. Bart? And I basically said, look, I'm thinking about getting into music. I was going to be a lawyer. I saw your program. I'd like to do what you do. And he wrote back to me when I got back to university. And so we met for tea, and he said, if you're serious about being a musician or composer, when you graduate, just call me again and we'll hook up. I was serious. I took a year off, deferred my law school, and wrote to Lionel. And so he used to sing into a dictaphone, and I used to write it out. And at the same time, we were working on some animation projects that he was working on, so I would write all his music out, go in the studio and have play it all. So that's how I first got started, and then every stage door was knocked on, every CV is given out, I'll do anything. So I started to be rehearsal pianist and work my way up, and then started to musically direct shows and stuff, and then very quickly thought, actually, I'd rather walk to a theatre where I'm doing my own music than me doing someone else's, and so I started to write.
Excellent. And so you obviously had some music training before you started school as a lawyer, correct? What had you been predominantly up till then?
Well, I was clearly musical because I'd done all my grades. Like I'd done my grade 8 by the time I was 12, so I'd done this stuff very early on. And then I got a music scholarship to school, so I always studied music.
Okay.
But my parents thought, I should probably go and do something. And so I like politics. I've always been into politics, and so I did that.
Okay.
But at the university at Warwick, they have the Warwick Arts Centre, so I would end up conducting all the musical theatre shows for 3 years, scraped my 2-1 in politics, never used it, so here I am.
Who were some of your early influences when you were studying music?
Well, the shows I did, classically, I did all my grades with Beethoven, all the classical repertoire, which I didn't love at the time because I didn't understand it, but now I sort of really got much more into it. Musical theatre-wise, I did shows like Into the Woods, I did City of Angels, which I always thought was an amazing score. I just loved it. Little Shop of Horrors and Oliver and all those musicals that you with Joseph and all those things you do as a kid. They were my musical loves, and I just loved it. I loved being around it, and so I thought of give it a go, and I've never done anything else really. That's all I've ever done is work in music, work around music, and now write musicals and write films or write whatever I do. So that's what I...
So then you were working your way then through the music industry, musically directing. When did you start writing some of your own things?
Well, I was on tour with Blood Brothers, and I started to write songs for an artist or one of the performers on stage. And those songs did okay, and I found out that actually he was getting publishing offers for the songs, not as a thing. And I was like, yeah, but I wrote those songs. My name's not on there, so I thought, this is not good. I should get a manager. So I wrote to 2 managers and went with one, and they said, no, these are brilliant songs and you need a publishing deal. And he took me to Warner's, and I was signed to Warner's for 10 years, and that's how I got writing. So they initially signed me as a pop songwriter, but I sort of liked it, didn't love it. And actually I got into writing musicals more, but like with Anthony Drewe, who we're working with at the moment on So Cinders, we started together as pop songwriters, So I started writing songs with Anthony. He would do a lyric and I would do stuff, and the same with Stephen Clark, who who was in part of the collaborations concert, who wrote Love Story and Martin, we started together as pop song, just writing, see what comes out. And then I've gone on to write musicals with all these different people. So, but we started off because I had the contract with Warner's and they wanted my songs, so that's what we did.
Excellent. And obviously, collaborations is the name of the game here, because that's the production that's coming up on the 22nd, and it will deal with the music that you have written with the people that you have worked with over the years.
Yeah, I mean, collaborations, it's all in aid of Teenage Cancer Trust. So every year I raise money for the Teenage Cancer Trust. And for the last few years, Anthony Drewe and I have done concerts or raised lots of money for the Teenage Cancer Trust and been trekking around parts of the world in order to raise money for them. Machu Picchu, and we're going to Cuba, and so that's how we raise the money for the Teenage Cancer Trust. Collaborations came about because I thought I've worked with so many different types of people in musical theatre and great pop songwriters. Wouldn't it be fun to just have all those writers come on stage and talk about the songs that they've written and have their artists of choice sing those songs and then talk about the songs that inspired them to write in the first place? So you will get, so Stephen Clark will be there, Anthony Drewe, George Stiles, a guy called Sam Kenyon, who I wrote another musical with, James Bourne, who I wrote Loserville with.
Of course.
And so all these songwriters that I've written with will talk about the songs, and then you'll hear the songs sung by amazing artists such as Michael Xavier, Jenna Russell, Julie Atherton, Robbie Boyle, Danielle Hope, Gary Kemp's coming down from Spandau Ballet, Graham Gouldman from 10cc is going to be playing. So those are the artists that are going to be singing the songs, and they'll also be talking about songs that inspired them. So there's some beautiful... I've asked each songwriter to choose a song which inspired them to write. Okay. And so all the artists are talking about that as well. So the beautiful thing about collaborations is that it's going to be some of the best talent, writing and artist-wise, in the industry, in a tiny space. It's like 130 people.
Okay.
So if you want to see these great artists in an exceptional lineup, in aid of charity, in a small, intimate space, this is the concert for you. But the bad news is that the evening is completely sold out. Mm-hmm. So
it's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem. So we've released a matinee, and there's still a few tickets left for the matinee. And the matinee is at 4:30 on the 22nd at St James's.
Can you tell us a little bit more about some of your experiences with past collaborators? Anything that
they're
sprang to mind?
all rubbish. They're just they're just terrible.
Naturally, of course.
I've saved them all. If it wasn't for me, I've been so lucky, and you don't really appreciate it at the time because you just go, "Oh, this is really good fun. We're doing good stuff." But my close collaborators now are having written with George Stiles and Anthony Drewe, Soho Cinders. That's what we're currently working on because that's going on at Arts Ed. At the moment, we did a big run of that at Soho Theatre last year, which did really well.
Yeah.
And now it's going on at Arts Ed, and it's going on, and the rights have been released for that. So there's productions going on around the country, and actually in America next year, there's some big productions going on.
Exciting.
So and we're just making some changes. You can see on the table the script. We're just making some changes to the script at the moment.
I'll be careful with my tea.
Yeah. So that's a great collaboration. James Bourne and I have worked so well together on Loserville, and we've written a show called Out There. And Loserville's just been made available via Weinberger's and MTI in America.
Excellent.
So it's going out to all schools, all colleges, and that will have a life, where we always intended it to for schools and colleges. So,
anything else you could tell us more about than the actual evening on Sunday? What we can expect in terms of a performance? You touched on it a little bit in terms of who will be there, the kind of numbers we can expect. What about the style of the evening?
Intimate.
In the space?
Yeah, there's a small band, a band of 5, which I'll be playing the piano in. And I'll be talking about some of the songs and introducing all the songwriters. The idea is that each songwriter introduces their own songs.
Beautiful, yeah.
So each songwriter will come on and say, look, we wrote this at this time, it comes from this, I like it because... So the first act will be songs by Stephen Clark, Anthony Drewe, Graham Gouldman, George Stiles, Sam Brooks, Adam Bard, who's a beautiful lyricist. He now lives in Nashville as a songwriter, but he used to write with a composer called Charles Miller, and he and I have written some lovely songs together. James Bourne, and then the second act will be the songs that inspired those writers to write this, to come into musical theatre. So, and each act will be about 55 minutes, something like that, but it'll be really intimate and really lovely. And in the second act, you'll get to hear some Spandau Ballet classics, you'll get to hear some 10cc classics, so it really is a lovely lineup, yeah.
Absolutely. Lots to expect, lots to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit more about the Teenage Cancer Trust and how you started getting involved with that?
Well, Graham Gouldman, who wrote all those amazing songs for 10cc, like I'm Not in Love and Things We Do for Love and Dreadlock Holiday, all those great songs, he was working with a record company. And the record company thought that he and I would write really well together. And we sort of just became really good friends. And we did write some lovely songs together. And he said to me, you know, you should do this thing that I do, like trekking for the Teenage Cancer Trust. And I kept going, oh, no, it's not for me. I don't want to go up a mountain and sleep in a tent. I like my luxury. And so I kept saying no. And eventually he said, come on, you're coming this year. And that was to Costa Rica, trekking through the Costa Rican rainforest for Teenage Cancer Trust. And I signed up. He got ill, didn't go. So I found myself in Costa Rica, not knowing anyone. But I had the best time. And then I said to Anthony, you should come. And then Anthony's been coming. We've done 3 treks together. Okay. So it was Graham Gouldman that got it. But it's a great charity. Because when teenagers get cancer, and there's every day in the UK, 6 teenagers, they say, will hear the words, you've got cancer. Their needs are specific in beating the disease. You can't put them on a geriatric ward, you know, and they don't want to go in children's wards. So they build specialist units to treat teenagers. And they'll have... Their parents can stay over, they've got Xbox, they've got music, and the statistics show that treating a teenager in the right environment will increase the chances of beating the disease. So it's a great charity.
Very quickly, let's get the most important details, which is, let's just remind everybody where and when they can see the show and how to get tickets as well.
Oh, brilliant. So it's at St James's Theatre, which is, nearest station is Victoria in London. It's on Sunday the 22nd of September. The evening is 7:30, which is pretty sold out, and the matinee, which does have tickets, is at 4:30. So 4:30, Sunday 22nd of September at St James's, and the way to get tickets is to go on www.stjamestheatre.co.uk or just chuck St James Theatre into Google and you'll see, and you'll get a box office number, and you have the option to buy the tickets on the web as well.
That's perfect. It'll be a great night of entertainment, and it's obviously for a wonderful, wonderful cause. So it's definitely something not to miss. Yeah. Now, what can we look forward to from you in the future here?
Well, we're doing. There's going to be a big concert of Out There on the 11th of October to present James and my new show, James Bourne and my new show, which is a completely original story, completely original score. On the 11th of October, that's going on at the Lyric, Shaftesbury Avenue.
Beautiful.
For one performance only in concert. Soho Cinders goes on in November at Arts Ed for like 7 days, I think, 7 performances. I'm not quite sure. And then there's productions of it happening around the country in various second-class productions. And Loserville is released by Weinbergers, and my big project at the moment is a feature film which I've written, which goes into production for next year, which has a musical theatre theme, but I'm not allowed to tell you what
it is.
No worries, okay. So it will hopefully be in the cinemas at the end of next year or the beginning of 2015, but it's a big project, so it's good fun.
Something to keep your eyes and ears open
Absolutely.
for,
I'll tell you all about it when it's in the cinema.
That'll be great. Excellent. Well, Elliot, I think that's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to meet you, and we look forward to certainly the collaborations here in just a few days, and all of your future projects and endeavors as well.
David, thank you very much.
So please do go to www.stjamestheatre.co.uk to book your ticket for collaborations. Be as fast as you can, though, as seats are very limited. If you would like more information about Elliot Davis or any of his upcoming projects, you can go to his website at www.elliotdavis.co.uk. My thanks again to Elliot for the lovely chat, and I look forward very much to seeing his show this coming Sunday. See you at the theater, friends.